The movie opens in 1965 in New York City, where we meet Teresa, a young dancer from Nebraska. She is preparing for a performance in a Broadway production of Kiss Me, Kate. After getting her hair and makeup done, she takes the stage and the show begins. It's an electrifying scene, as the theatrical ensemble pours their hearts out in this show-stopping performance. The troupe's magnificent display continues, and Terry, in effortless elegance, leaps from the heights, attempting a grand jeté. Her body is suspended in midair, and as the young lady descends, misfortune strikes. She lands awkwardly on the floor, twisting her ankle severely. Terry screams in agony, drawing the attention of the rest of the group. The show is brought to a sudden halt, and the curtains are drawn down regarding the criticality of the situation. Terry is in excruciating pain, so much so that her vision has become blurry. Luckily, help arrives, and she receives medical treatment. In the next scene, we see Terry walking down the streets. A lot has changed since the incident, and she's now infamously known as the girl who fell. Since the accident, Terry has failed to secure gigs as she is no longer able to perform at her previous level. She continues to unsuccessfully audition for dancing parts. From tap dancing to ballet, it's just a heap of failures and rejections for the young dancer. One day, Terry goes for an audition. While she introduces herself, she realizes that the directors are already familiar with her. To her dismay, she isn't known for her talent and skill as a dancer, but rather has a reputation for the tragic fall during the Kiss Me, Kate performance. It's a humiliating and agonizing audition for the dancer, as the directors keep making her do the jeté move that broke her ankle. The young woman isn't fully healed, and each attempt at the move is excruciatingly painful for her. However, Terry is driven by passion and won't let the pain she feels stop her from chasing her dreams. Sadly, these two men do not have any intentions of seeing her talent, but only wish to mock her. Terry only realizes their intent to ridicule her when one of the men, Mr. Merchant, asks her to imitate a pig. Terry declines, bringing an end to the audition. The ambitious dancer sits backstage with a sore ankle and crushed dreams. She takes her pills, tears rolling down her cheeks. Her friend Annie sees her in this state and worries for her. She suggests that Terry goes back to her hometown, at least until she fully recovers. But Terry is still full of purpose and won't stop chasing her dreams. She won't give up on this journey to stardom. As the two talk, Terry sees Mr. Merchant heading out. The woman leaves her friend behind and decides to follow him. As she walks closely behind the man, he leads her into the Branford apartment. At the entrance, she finds the concierge. The man at the counter asks her who she's looking for, and she tells him she's there to see Mr. Alan Merchant. The receptionist asks Terry if Mr. Merchant is expecting her, but the young woman begins to stutter. Suddenly, Terry begins to feel sick and hears strange sounds. The man suggests he order a cab for her, but she insists she's fine. However, Terry is not fine, and her vision becomes blurry. The scene cuts, and next, we see her heading out of the building, unsteady on her feet. She bumps into an elderly couple who, seeing her state, are concerned about her. The young woman lands on the floor and begins to throw up, and the elderly couple goes to help her. They take her into their home and make her rest. Terry sleeps peacefully all through the night, but wakes up abruptly from a nightmare the next morning. Terry lets out a loud gasp as she awakes. She takes a look around the place she is in, and it doesn't seem familiar. A million thoughts run through the woman's head as she tries to recall how she ended up here. She then hears voices coming from outside the room, so she decides to trace it. She makes it to the living room where she sees the couple, Minnie and Roman Castevet, having breakfast. The two, on seeing Terry, immediately inquire about her well-being. They invite her to sit with them and have breakfast, which Terry obliges unhesitatingly. At the breakfast table, Terry admits to not recalling exactly what happened the previous night and inquires of the couple. Roman tells the young lady that they found her by the sidewalk, as if she were under the influence of a narcotic. Minnie inquires further if she is an addict, and Terry instantly disaffirms. Terry reveals that she had followed Alan Merchant into his apartment, hoping to convince him to let her on his Broadway. She says she wasn't herself last night and was in a vulnerable state, and expresses her gratitude to the couple for showing her kindness and not taking advantage of her situation. Afterwards, Terry helps out with the dishes. While cleaning up the place, Minnie compliments Terry, claiming to have sensed a star quality in her when she saw her for the first time. Terry is flattered by the woman's kind words. Minnie also notices the injury on her ankle and inquires about it. Terry tells her that 4 months earlier, she had an accident, and the injury on her ankle is posing a serious threat to her career as a dancer. Minnie immediately advises her. She tells the young woman that the falls don't define a person, but what they do afterward, and on that note, she should let the wounds heal and watch the scars fade away. Minnie and her husband then take Terry to an apartment down the hall. The couple says they told people that they bought the place as an investment, but truly they just wanted to choose their neighbors. They explain this as something they have done in the past and just love to help people in need. In essence, they would love for Terry to live there, rent-free, for as long as she would like. The young lady is delighted. She can't believe the level of these people's kindness. Later, she goes to pack her things from Annie's place. Her friend is not excited about this sudden move because Terry doesn't even know these people, but Terry claims that they are a lonely old and wealthy couple, looking for someone to rescue, and she doesn't mind living at the Bramford with them. Terry is just pleased to finally be moving into her own space. She believes it is no coincidence that all of this is happening, and it's all destined to be. Terry finally moves into the Bramford and is warmly welcomed by the concierge, who helps her with her luggage and escorts her inside. The woman begins to unpack, and in the process, she stumbles upon a ballet slipper labeled Joan Cebulski. Just then, there's a knock on the door, and Terry rushes to open it. Minnie has brought some flowers for the woman, claiming it to be a housewarming gift. Terry shows Mrs. Castevet the ballet slipper she had found earlier. She believes it belonged to their other tenant. Minnie shows little to no emotion concerning it and instantly throws it in the trash. Before she leaves, she invites Terry over for drinks later in the night, an invite that the young woman doesn't refuse. Alan Merchant is the one hosting, and Terry arrives just in time at his house. Merchant welcomes her into his home, but the young woman is shocked to discover that the Castevets won't be coming, as they claim to have double booked for the night. Terry becomes instantly unsettled. She hadn't prepared to spend the evening alone with Merchant at his apartment. The man notices that she has become uneasy, so he tells her that she doesn't have to stay. However, Terry claims to be just fine. Merchant offers his guest some drinks and the two discuss. He compliments her for showing such resilience and fighting spirit, refusing to let her infamous fall determine her. Terry reveals to him that in this short period, she has learned a lot from Minnie. The old woman has taught her to keep her head up no matter what. The two talk, and the dancer is hoping for another chance to audition for him again. Alan is curious as to why she is so devoted to this career path, and the woman tells him that she finds joy in dancing. Merchant cuts her short while she speaks. He doesn't want a cliché response. The man wants her to give him a unique answer. He is curious about the motivation behind her desire to take the stage. Terry becomes emotional as she reveals to her host that she was bereaved at a young age and faced a lot of difficulties growing up. Dancing has always been for her an escape from the real world. The only time she felt in control of her life was when she moved her body. She never wants that feeling to stop, so she will continue to dance as long as she can. The two make a toast, and Terry takes a sip of her drink. Just as she sips, she begins to feel unwell. She becomes dizzy, and when she attempts to stand on her feet and loses her balance, the woman struggles but manages to make it out of the door. As she finds her way back to her apartment, everything begins to seem out of place. Just then, the scene transitions into a musical sequence, where we see Terry being taken into a secret room and tied to a bed. Merchant and the Castevets are present, and they watch on. While the young woman is on the bed, a beast with a terrifying appearance emerges from under. Terry screams in fear. This creature is creeping in between her legs, and she is tied to the bed, unable to escape. The next morning, Terry wakes up in Alan's room undressed. She hurries to put on clothes, and just then, the door opens. Merchant arrives with a small tray containing breakfast. The man offers her a cup of coffee, and before she takes a sip of it, he hints that both of them had gotten intimate the previous night. Terry tells him that she has no memory of what had occurred. Alan tells her that their intimacy is a singular thing, and nothing more. However, he has some good news for her. He has accepted her into his chorus. On her first day at rehearsals, things don't go smoothly for the dancer, apart from being recognized as the girl who fell, a name that might just stick around for a bit. One of the dancers, Vera, calls her untalented. She also accuses Terry of securing a spot in the chorus through romantic favors. After that encounter, Terry goes to the restroom, and there she notices strange bruises all over her body. Rehearsals are finally over, and Terry heads home. She's about to get into her apartment when Minnie stands by her door and calls for her. The woman is just back from dance rehearsals and is exhausted, but she doesn't get the chance to explain. Left with no other choice, Terry makes her way to the Castevet's apartment. Inside, Minnie introduces the young lady to a woman named Lily Gardenia, who lives next door to Terry in apartment 7E. Minnie has told Gardenia about her ankle problem in hopes that she has a solution for it. Lily immediately hands an ointment to Terry made of peppermint and rosemary. The woman claims that if the dancer applies it correctly, she'll be back on her feet again. That same night, Terry has a nightmare where she sees a demon in her room. She wakes up full of panic and fright. Eventually, the woman rises from her bed to get set for the day, but then she notices something strange. Her ankle is nearly healed to perfection. Terry is elated by this and can't wait to show off at rehearsals. Of course, during practice, Terry performs so well that she even draws the attention of the instructor. One eventful evening, the Castevets host a party. It's a Christmas-themed party, and the guests are dressed in fascinating costumes. Terry is invited, and she attends alongside her friend Annie. The two are enjoying their time, but then Terry begins to have these strange encounters. First with an obstetrician who randomly offers the young lady his card in case she needs assistance anytime soon. Then she sees a group of people in a secret room acting suspiciously. Immediately, they see Terry looking. They shut the door, after which she overhears Minnie and Lily arguing. The two women stop talking immediately as soon as Terry arrives at the scene, and Lily leaves. The young woman is becoming more and more curious, so she inquires Minnie if she and Lily are having issues. The old woman claims it's nothing to bother about. She then proceeds to call for her husband to present their Christmas gift to her. Terry is excited as she goes through the huge box to see its contents. Inside it is a magnificent dark robe, and when she looks into the pockets as instructed, she finds a talisman necklace. Minnie claims that the necklace is over 300 years old. Terry cannot express her gratitude enough. She tells the couple that she can't help but feel lucky. Terry spends the rest of the night singing and dancing with her friend Annie. While the two have fun together drinking merrily, Terry puts on the robe the Castevets had gifted her while looking at the mirror. Just as she stares at her reflection, she suddenly sees a demonic hand grab her waist from behind. The woman flings the robe away in horror, startling her friend in the room with her. Annie inquires what had made her friend react so strangely, but what Terry can say when even she can't make sense of what she saw. Some time passes, and Terry suspects that she is pregnant. She goes to visit the obstetrician who confirms her suspicions. The young woman is devastated. She doesn't know what to do with this discovery, and the only person she can confide in is Annie. Her friend is fine with whatever decision Terry wants to make. She knows that it will be a huge struggle to juggle parenting as well as dancing. Terry already faced a career-ending situation when she broke her ankle. She might not be able to get a second chance with this one. She can't tell Alan about it, because he might decide to kick her out of the chorus. Terminating the pregnancy might be the best option for Terry. Unknown to the two friends, Vera has been eavesdropping the whole time. She walks in on them and begins to make fun of the situation. Terry becomes aggravated and attempts to push Vera down the stairs, but Annie calms her friend down. Later that night, Terry is all alone in the laundry, dealing with the burden of the pregnancy. Suddenly, the washing machine begins to swirl on its own. When Terry attempts to stop it, she begins to see flashing images of a demon behind her. Luckily, someone arrives, and having someone else present with her eases the terrified woman's mind. Eventually, Terry learns that word has traveled fast about her pregnancy. Everyone, including Alan, is excited, except her. She returns home from practice that day to see the Castevets in her apartment waiting for her. They gained access with the spare key of the house. Terry is upset with the doctor, whom she believes to be the bearer of the news. She's also upset at the couple for informing Alan. The woman doesn't understand everyone's excitement when she hasn't even decided that she wants to keep the child. The most important thing to her now is her career, and she makes it clear to the Castevets. After hearing her speak, the couple asks Terry to join them for a minute. They want to show her something. Minnie and Roman reveal to Terry their failed attempts at making babies. They proceed to make the young woman an offer. She keeps the baby, and then gives it to them eventually. In exchange, they will give Terry anything she asks for. This is a lot for the young woman to take in, but the couple's offer is quite tempting. They promise to give her the fame she greatly desires. Terry looks over the empty cradle before her and accepts their offer. One night, Terry wakes up from a nightmare. At this point, the poor woman might have forgotten what a peaceful night's sleep feels like. As she gets up from her bed, she sees someone lurking in the darkness. She immediately turns on the light to see who it is. It's Lily. The old woman suddenly apologizes to Terry and then attempts to attack her. Terry escapes narrowly. She rushes back into her apartment and locks the door. While she is hiding, she hears another noise from outside, and then the sound of a blade slashing. Terry rushes to open the door, and outside, she sees Lily on the floor unconscious. The paramedics arrive and rush the woman to the hospital. Still reeling from the incident, Terry sits in her room, her mind wandering. Just then, the Castevets arrive. They inform Terry that Lily is alive, though she is in a coma. Roman then goes on to praise the young lady for her heroics, claiming that she is the reason for Lily's survival. However, Terry doesn't know how to take that, knowing that Lily had attempted to take her life. The couple leave, promising to keep Terry updated on any news. As Minnie and Roman leave, Terry finds a secret passage that leads to Lily's apartment from hers. She enters the house and begins to look around the place. Just then, she stumbles upon a book with Lily's name on it. It's a grimoire. The inquisitive woman opens the book, and on the first page, she sees a drawing of the figure that keeps appearing in her dreams. Or does she and Lily share the same sleep paralysis demon? She also finds a drawing of her talisman in it, along with a photo of a chained woman giving birth to a demon. Terry hears voices and immediately runs out of the house before she gets caught. The next day at practice, Vera, the lead of the chorus, mysteriously loses control of her muscles, leaving her paralyzed. She gets the emergent help she needs, but unfortunately, she is unfit to continue dancing. This leaves her spot vacant for none other than Terry to occupy. Terry unhesitatingly obliges to take on the lead role. Later that day, Minnie assists Terry get ready for her new position as the star of the show by giving her a befitting haircut. The young woman shares her concerns for Vera, as rumor has it that she might never be able to walk again. Minnie feels Terry shouldn't be worrying about such matters when she is finally having a breakthrough in her career. She wants the young woman to focus only on that, and Terry agrees. The day finally arrives for Terry's big performance, and best believe the woman puts on a show. Everything goes well. After the show, Terry sits in front of a mirror, undoing her makeup, but then she is led to tears. Given that this is the life she has always dreamed of, one would expect it to be tears of joy. However, though things finally seem to be falling into place for the young dancer, a lot still feels out of place or even falling apart. She shuts the door while staring at her tummy. Suddenly her stomach enlarges, and we see something kicking from inside. Terry is terrified by this. But then when she looks into the mirror again, her tummy returns to its normal size. Unsure of the next decision to take, Terry calls the doctor explaining the strange and abnormal symptoms she has been facing. The man on the phone thinks she might be losing it, and suggests that Minnie bring her to him for examination. But then, the woman doesn't want the Castavets involved. The doctor tells her she may be experiencing perinatal hysteria, and needs to be admitted for her protection, and that of the baby. Minnie comes looking for her, but she avoids the woman. Terry knows something strange is going on, and she needs to escape. The woman packs her luggage and escapes the Bramford, leaving the talisman behind. She then begins to do some investigations. She finds Joan Sobolski's name in an old playbill and visits the theater. The manager tells her Joan left 6 months earlier, promising to be back for her belongings the next day. In Joan's suitcase, Terry finds a rosary and a Bible with Revelation 12:9 underlined. She then makes her way to the local church, and there she finds a nun whom she confides in. The nun there tells her that the people in her building are Satan worshippers. When she realizes that Terry is pregnant, she tells her they have impregnated her with Satan's baby, something they've tried to do with young women in the past. The next day, Terry visits a back alley abortionist, accompanied by Annie. This thing growing inside her cannot see the light of day. Everything seemingly goes well, and the abortionist begins the process. Then, Terry screams, pushing the woman to the wall. The woman is perplexed by Terry's sudden reaction, and all of a sudden, the abortionist has a seizure. The young woman flees instantly, and Annie runs after her. She catches up with her friend and inquires what the matter is. Annie tries to calm the young woman down. Terry speaks strangely, and her friend can barely understand her words. She tells Annie that there's something evil growing in her. The woman's eyes are full of regret. If only she had not followed Alan into the Bramford apartment that day, and had instead taken her friend's advice and gone back to her hometown to start afresh. Instead, she pursued her dream life, and that came at a very heavy cost, and now she has to face the consequences. Annie believes that whatever the case may be, they can work it out together. However, Terry got into this mess on her own. It's her cross to bear. She is led to tears as she hugs her friend. It's goodbye from the two. Annie is filled with worry as she watches Terry leave. The woman heads back to the Bramford apartment building. At the entrance, she is greeted by the concierge, but she ignores him. She goes into the elevator, and inside, she sees Minnie on the other side with a mischievous smile on her face. The lift takes her down to a hidden theater, where she finds a temple with murals and tools of religious ritual in a sub-basement. Alan appears, and she immediately begins to question him. The man taunts her. He relishes seeing her in this state. As they speak, Terry begins to get flashbacks of that night, where she was laid as an offering on their altar, with the Castavets present. Alan tells her that this is where she was impregnated. The man leans in closer to her and she immediately attacks him with an engraved athame and he falls flat on the floor. Then, a horned figure appears, and the terrified woman runs away. On her way out of the Bramford, she meets Toby shutting the doors. Terry pleads with the doorman to let her escape, but he says he cannot do that. Panic kicks in, and the woman goes back into the elevator, heading to her apartment. Getting there, she shuts the door behind her, hoping to find refuge. Still wary of the danger that lurks, Terry arms herself with a knife. Inside, she finds Minnie and Roman, who have been waiting for her. She confronts the couple about being devil worshippers, and their plans to reign evil on the earth. How they took advantage of her when she was at her lowest, all in a bid to fulfill their sinister plans. The poor woman refuses to be a tool or an aid to their atrocity. She wants to put an end to it all, even if it involves her demise. Terry points the blade directly to her stomach. She intends to hurt her. However, some unseen force stops her, and the woman falls to the floor, writhing in pain. Roman tells Terry her son will be Satan's heir, and that he will change the world. He and Minnie take her to the rest of the group, who welcome her. Minnie replaces the talisman around Terry's neck, and Roman declares that God has perished, and the year 1965 is the year 1. He raises a toast hailing Satan, which Terry joins in on. She begins to dance artistically, captivating everyone watching. She then cleverly makes her way to the window and throws herself out, to the astonishment of everyone. The young woman meets her sudden and tragic demise. In the post-credits of the film, Minnie and Roman approach the scene. There they see Rosemary and Guy Woodhouse being interviewed by police. The elderly couple observe the scene with a smirk on their faces. They might have just found their next victims.